Hello everyone, my name is Brandon Lee and this is my presentation for Math 1070 Project 2 College Majors. In this project, I research and analyze how different college majors are chosen by gender, how they compare in terms of salary, and how all this connects to the larger issue of the gender pay gap. I'll walk you through a real data, show you how I did the math, and explain what it all means. This project has four main parts. First, I looked at which majors were most popular in 2016 and how they were divided by gender. Then I explored which majors pay the most and which pay the least. After that, I looked at whether there's a connection between how a popular major is and how much it pays. Finally, I dug into the gender pay gap and how the choice of majors plays a role in it. Along the way, I used math, formulas, and real sources to back up what I found. In 2016, almost 1.9 million people earned a bachelor's degree. Women earned about 1.08 million of those, and men earned just over 812,000. That breaks down to about 57% women and 43% men. I used a basic percentage formula, divided the number of degrees by each gender by the total, then multiplied by 10. It was interesting to see that women earned a larger portion of all bachelor degrees. When I looked at the top majors by gender, I noticed some clear patterns. For men, most common majors were engineering and computer science. For women, majors like psychology, education, and health professions were more common. But there were some majors that both men and women ranked highly, like business, biology, and social sciences. I made a Venn diagram to show whether the overlap happens. You can really see how certain fields attract different genders. The most popular major for both men and women in 2016 was business. About 465,000 people earned a business degree that year. Of those, 43% were women and 57% were men. I found this by dividing the number of business grads by gender over the total business degrees. Business is such a popular choice because it's flexible, open doors in many industries, and is seen as a practical and reliable career path. I wanted to estimate how many people out of 6,000 would have majored in psychology. For women, I used a ratio of psychology majors to total degrees and found out that about 405 women out of 6,000 would have majored in it. For men, it was about 136. Psychology is a lot more common for women, which reflects that gender divide is in certain fields. When I looked at the salaries, the major with the highest pay was petroleum engineering, not surprisingly, since it's very technical and in demand. The lowest was counseling psychology, which is often undervalued, even though it's essential work. This shows that some of the most important jobs don't always come with the highest salaries, and fields like counseling are often paid less despite their emotional and social impact. Now, this is where it gets really eye-opening. I compared two majors. Engineering for men with an average of $80,000 and education for women with $40,000. That's a $40,000 difference per year. If that difference were invested annually at 5% interest over a 40-year career, the total value would be about $4.8 million. I used a future value formula for annuities to calculate it. It really shows how major choice can lead to huge financial differences over a lifetime. If you take that $40,000 and invest it every year for 40 years, you would personally deposit $1.6 million. But the interest alone would earn you over $3.2 million. That means you make twice as much just from the interest as you actually put in. It highlights how early and consistent income can lead to massive wealth differences depending on career paths. To put the salary gap into perspective, males in engineering make 100% more than females in education, literally double, and females in education make 50% less than males in engineering. These percentages come from relative different formulas. When you hear the numbers out loud, they really emphasize how much major and genders can affect future income. You might think that popular majors are also the highest pay, but that's not always true. Psychology and education are both really common, especially among women, but they pay relatively low. Meanwhile, high paying majors like engineering and petroleum engineering don't appear on the top 10 list. That shows us that students are often choose their majors based on interest or passion, not just a paycheck. A Harvard Business Review graph showed that as the percentage of men in a major goes up, so does the salary. This is a weak but inconsistent trend. Majors that are mostly women tend to pay less. It suggests that some fields might be undervalued just because they're seen as women's work, even when the skills required are just as valuable. One of the more gender skewed majors is mechanical engineering. About 90% of the people in that major are men. Only 10% are about women. A big reason for this early gender socialization, like boys being considered to play with Legos and girls being pushed towards arts and caregiving, it's not a question of ability, but exposure and encouragement. I also read an article from Nurse Journal that looked at a pay gap in nursing, a field dominated by women. Even in this female majority field, men still earn more and get promoted faster. The article was by Janice Monti, PhD, and it really helped connect how leadership roles and negotiation might affect earning even in female jobs. The article had a salary comparison chart, but it lacked detail. There was no mention of sample size, years of experience, or geographic differences. These missing pieces are important because they could drastically affect salary outcomes. A good chart should be transparent and detailed so people can interpret it accurately. So what causes the gender pay gap? A few things. Men and women are often chose different majors. Women that may take career breaks from caregiving and they're less likely to be promoted to leadership roles. But there's also solutions too, like salary transparency laws, better parental leave policies, and encouraging young women to pursue higher paying fields. The choice we make in college really do have lifelong consequences. Here are the sources that I used. I relied on College Atlas for degree stats, NPR for salary graphs, HBR for salary and gender data, and Nurse Journal for insights into the nursing field. All of them helped me understand the connection between genders, majors, and income more clearly.